You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to N2K's Cyberwire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner, and joining me is Joe Kerrigan. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
And our N2K colleague and host of the T-Minus Space Daily podcast, Maria Vermazis. Maria.
Hi, Dave, and hi, Joe.
Hi, Maria.
We've got some good stories to share this week, and we will be right back after this message from our show sponsor. And now, a few thoughts from our sponsors at ThreatLocker. The tactics used by cybercriminals are becoming more and more advanced every day. The shift from a default allow approach to a default deny is more critical than ever. This is where ThreatLocker comes in. Stay tuned for how ThreatLocker allow listing and ring fencing has your back. All right, before we dig into our stories this week, we have a few bits of follow-up here.
Yes.
You want to start us off, Joe?
Yeah, I saw this come across the news feed today when I was looking for a story for today, and it was a VIN swap scam. We've been talking a lot about VIN swap scams, but
Right.
This is an actual case of a guy in Nevada. He lived in Las Vegas. His name is Sherman Habibian, and he found a GMC truck for sale on Facebook Marketplace, negotiated a deal, and then when he went to register it, cops pulled up behind him and said at the VIN verification or the VIN inspection site, and they lit him up, and he's like, uh-oh. And sure enough,
Oh, no.
the car had been stolen. Now, the good news is that Mr. Habibian had asked for the driver's license of the guy that was selling the car for him, and the guy gave him a fake ID, and he took a picture of it. But that was enough evidence to find the guy, and the police have arrested him. I don't know that Mr. Habibian will get his money back, though, because it took 3 days for the police to find him, and that money is probably already into somebody else's hands. The cops are saying this is he's a middleman, a guy that goes out and sells the car, takes the cash, and goes. So there's somebody else behind this who is making the money here. And the person that got arrested is just, a person of opportunity.
Huh. And do we think that maybe the truck will find its way back to its rightful owner?
Oh, the truck is going back, yes.
Okay.
That is probably going to happen because it was a stolen vehicle when Mr. Habibian bought it and took it to the VIN inspection station. They say at the VIN inspection station, they see this happen about 3 times a week. 3 times, that's
Wow.
a lot.
Jeez.
And they recommend that if you're going to do this, if you're going to buy a truck from somebody, do it at the VIN inspection station. That you can have the VIN inspected there, make sure it's valid, make sure it's not a stolen car, make sure that all the VINs match up, and then you can go ahead with the transfer. And if they say, no, we're not going to the VIN inspection station, you say that I'm not buying the car from you.
That's good. No, that's a great advice. Huh. Okay. Well, we got another bit of follow-up, some kind clarification and / correction from one of our listeners. This was
Appreciated.
That's right. This is from someone who goes by Lippard on Mastodon, who I believe follows me on Mastodon. And they write, listening to the latest Hacking Humans, it's not accurate to make a blanket statement that bank participation in FinCEN reporting is voluntary. Banks are required to submit suspicious activity reports to FinCEN under the Bank Secrecy Act and to respond to law enforcement requests under the Patriot Act. What is voluntary is participation in Patriot Act Section 314B, proactive information sharing between financial institutions and with law enforcement. Okay. Also raised on this episode is whether you can pay taxes with cryptocurrency. You can for state taxes in Colorado and Utah, but virtually no one does it. Which doesn't surprise me.
Voluntary taxes, really?
And I just can't help thinking, paying your taxes in cryptocurrency would be some kind of a red flag.
Right. Yeah,
It's like,
it just sounds like a bad idea to me.
right. It's like pulling up to the
Yeah.
IRS headquarters and trying to pay your taxes in rolls of pennies. You know,
Oh, you know someone's done it.
That does sound like
Someone's
a good idea.
done that.
I'm
A free
sure.
stater.
Malicious
Sure.
compliance.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I mean, we'll see what happens with the coming administration, because incoming President Trump has said that he's going to be very friendly with cryptocurrency. So I suspect we could see more access to those options with his coming administration. So time will tell.
And more scams.
Yes.
And a lot more
More
scams.
It will probably
That's
result in
right.
more scams.
Probably.
Yep.
Probably. All right. Well, we would love to hear from you. If there's something you'd like to share with us, you can email us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. Let's jump into our stories here. And Joe, why don't you start things off for us?
Dave, I have a story from none other than Stu Showerman, CEO of KnowBe4, a longtime sponsor of the show.
That's right.
And the title of this is Real Social Engineering Attack on KnowBe4 Employee Failed.
Foiled.
Foiled. Sorry.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
says foiled. For some reason, whenever I see the word foiled, I read it failed.
Okay. You failed at reading foiled.
I did. I've been foiled by foiled.
That's right.
The person is named, we're just going to call him David B, apparently, and he is the VP
Hold
of...
on. It's not me.
No, it is not you.
Okay.
I didn't even make that connection, Dave.
Yeah. Keep going.
He is the VP of Asia Pacific in Japan, and he experienced this sophisticated attack where late one night, he got a call from somebody impersonating the head of HR, CHRO, if you will. And they started with phone calls, and all you could hear was the connection is bad. The connection is bad, and they're spoofing the chief HR. His name is Ani. They're spoofing Ani's phone number. So in one of the calls, the scammer says, "Look, I'm on a plane, and it's not letting me do WhatsApp audio or video. Let me just text you this information," right? And David says, "Okay, fine." And he starts this conversation with this scammer, and at some point in time, the scammer asks for some money. He says, "I need at least 30,000 Singapore dollars in my account because I can't access my account." And David says, "Well, I got to hit the fish alert button," right? Which is a KnowBe4 product
Okay.
that
Yeah.
everybody who works at KnowBe4 should know about. And this guy pretending to be the HR guy didn't know about it. So David was like, "Huh, that's a little odd." So he starts asking about plans for dinner in Singapore, and knowing that Ani has this love for this local dish that's only available in Singapore, I guess. But the scammer didn't know anything about it. So Ani was like, "Okay, fine. I know this is a scammer, and I'm done." And he terminates the call and blocks the guy, or terminates the text conversation and blocks the guy. So that's how it works when it works well. This guy reached out. David recognized a couple of red flags, like you don't recognize that. First off, here's something where I should, if I were a regular user of our products, I would be hitting the fish alert button. I'd be using some interface, and the guy doesn't know about it. So there's two things right there, right? I think I should hit the fish alert button, and the guy doesn't respond with anything that, like, "Yeah, all right, that's what we need to do here." And then when he doesn't know the dish, this comes to a discussion that I had yesterday, actually. I was on a meeting with some local people out of Howard County, and we were talking about the capability of us to be impersonated, like us, the three of us, right?
Okay.
Because
Nobody could ever imitate you, Joe.
yes, they could very easily. Just by taking the last 5 minutes of audio where I was sitting here droning on about this story,
Yeah.
and then impersonate
Your words, but not your essence.
Right,
Yes,
that's
okay.
right. Yeah, and that's kind of my point here. Is it could sound like me, and I've actually had this conversation with everybody in my family, and another person on the meeting yesterday said they've done the same thing. Where I will never call and ask you for money. That's not going to happen. If I'm going to ask you for money, I'm going to be there in person. I'm going to make the effort.
Right.
Hopefully, I never have to ask anybody for money, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to call and ask you for money. And if I do, that's probably a scammer. So think like that. Think in terms of how you would, if someone's calling you, and even if you think you know them, these voice modifiers are getting really good at almost real time. So have a password or ask some do some knowledge-based authentication. Hey, what are you going to do with this weekend with the trip? Or something like that. Or my favorite thing that I was thinking of today is somebody calls you from your bank. I was thinking this on the way over, and this doesn't really apply to an interpersonal thing, but somebody calls you from your bank and says, "Hey, I'm from your bank," and you go, "Bank of America?" And they say, "Yes." I don't have an account with Bank of America. So you pick a bank where you don't have an account, and ask if they're from that.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a good
I remember
one.
as a kid. Yeah, I remember as a kid there was advice. I think kids are still being given this advice. Have a password between you and your parents. If somebody says, "Hey, I'm here to pick you up after school," they don't let people do that anymore. But
No,
back
they
when
don't.
I was a kid, they did.
Yeah.
they used to just let anybody pick up a kid. They're like,
Don't
"Get
call
out
it
of
the
here."
stranger, Billy.
Yeah.
As long as they know the password.
He says your uncle.
but,
He says he's your uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure he's related to you somehow.
Right.
He looks like you. So I actually had that conversation with my mom. Hey, do you remember that password that we talked about when I was a kid? She didn't remember, but I got to refresh her memory. It was a nice little trip down memory lane.
I'd like to know what the password was.
I'm not telling you.
Oh.
Because it's my
Because I'm going to send someone to abduct Maria.
Or her mom.
You tried to social engineer me just now?
Kidnap Maria's
Would
mom.
have been a very, very bad one.
Just to teach her a lesson. Kidnap her mom.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You never
my
should have
mother
shared that
alone.
password, Maria.
Yeah, I'll bet her mom puts up much less of a fight than she does.
Oh my God. Can we leave my mom out of this?
Too late.
Too late.
Too late.
I would never harm a hair on your mother's head, Maria.
Listen, have you ever pissed off a Greek lady? I don't recommend it.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably would not go well.
Probably just as bad as making an Irish woman mad, which I do on a regular basis.
Oh, I see. Yes, I understand. All right. Well, we will have a link to that story in the show notes. Maria, what do you have for us this week?
Another gold bar scam, which I'm amazed to see these. And saddened. Just to be clear, this was one.
Let me interrupt you for a second, Maria, before you get into this. Have either of you ever laid hands on a gold bar?
Funny you should ask.
I've never even seen one.
Joe?
This is
I laid hands.
This is what gets me about these.
A friend of mine and I were talking, and he was talking about how he has some gold bars laying around.
As you do.
And I was like, I'd like to see them.
Okay.
And he showed them to me. And they are 1 ounce bars. They are small bars.
So like the size of a fun size Hershey bar?
Yeah,
Is that like
about that big.
Okay.
And he has gold and silver.
Oh, really?
And it's it's not an unusual amount. It's not like all my money is tied up in gold and silver.
Right.
Because that's not, but it is a, how can I say this? It's something he has that he wants to have around the house.
Yeah.
And
okay. Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case. Right.
Right.
So I get it. And who knows, maybe one day he'll be right. But I think if you're looking at that kind of thing, the thing to have lying around the house is iron and lots of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, if civilization collapses,
Screw my story. I want to hear this.
Gold's not going to be of much worth. Iron will be much more useful.
Also, much more accessible. Like,
right?
Okay.
Well,
right.
I mean, yeah, I guess it would be more
for
accessible.
smelting.
Yeah, for forging, probably you probably wouldn't be able to smelt. Yeah, you need a lot of civilization to smelt.
Yeah. Joe is
maybe some bronze while we're at it.
Right.
Joe is holding back to us. He's actually paving the sidewalk up to his new home in Gold Bars.
That's right.
So
Dave.
I always thought they were sort of brick size. You're telling me they're Hershey bar size?
I mean, the 1 ounce ones. There are brick ones. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The bricks are the ones you see in movies, and like whenever somebody talks about Fort Knox, you see these gold bricks.
That's my mental model of them. Yeah, I've never seen a real one in person. Yeah. I don't even know where I would get one. Like, how do you even acquire these? I have no idea.
That's a good question. Joe, do you know where you bought one? Where does one get a 1 ounce gold bar? Can you go to the bank and
a 1 ounce gold bar?
Is it on Amazon?
You can. I don't know that I'd buy it on it. You can go to a gold dealer and buy it. Some jewelers may have it. Yeah.
Oh, a jeweler. Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but make sure that you're paying. If it's just a gold bar, make sure you're not paying very much over the price of an ounce of gold when you buy it. I mean, like when you go to buy jewelry, that is so overpriced.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
And don't buy diamonds. Diamonds are a scam.
All right. So I'm sorry, Maria. That was much more of a rattle than I thought it was going to be. So back to you.
I'm still stuck on blacksmithing. That's just where my. So I know a few people who work a forge. Have an interesting conversation with them later. I'm just amazed by the proliferation of gold bar scams because as we've all been talking about, okay, Joe, you're the exception. Dave and I don't know how, where one gets these, and yet there's so many scams with these now. I guess to avoid wire fraud because people have caught on to that a little bit more. So I think if anyone just comes in asking for a gold bar at this point, that's a giant red flag that something bad is going on. But anyway, so there's this new story about yet another gold bar scam. This is happening in you all's neck of the woods in Maryland in Bethesda. There was a couple that had given $37,000 in gold bars to a person that they believed was with the FDIC or the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp. They had been told that this money was going into a safe locker. But they started to suspect after some time when people went quiet that maybe that money was not so safe. So they went to the police, and here is the story that unfolded. As you can imagine, it was a scam. This couple of 75-year-olds were initially targeted by one of the bazillions of text scams that we all tend to get nowadays. This one said that their Apple ID had been compromised and that someone had made a small unauthorized purchase with their Apple ID for around $100. So not a catastrophic amount for most people, but enough that you're going, okay, well, that's not good. So the text message advised them to call an Apple rep. And then when they were on the phone with the Apple rep, they got passed along that chain that we've talked about so many times, where it just kind of kept escalating at every step. So first, the scammer Apple rep told them to download a remote access app on their computer. So the next scammers, I guess, could see what was going on their computer. And then the couple was told that their Charles Schwab account had been hacked. So then they get passed along again, this time to a Charles Schwab representative. I don't know why an Apple guy would have the Charles Schwab guy's phone number, but apparently they do. They're all buddies. And then Charles Schwab said, well, actually, $41,500 of your money has already been used to purchase child pornography. You've been compromised. You're being reported now to the Federal Trade Commission. So again, now they're being passed along again. And at this point, the couple is then told they need to start withdrawing huge sums of money, over $200,000 apiece, convert it to gold bars, and then hand it over, as mentioned earlier, to the FDIC for safekeeping, or else hackers would take their money and then use it to fund Russian missile suppliers. So we've...
Wow.
Huh.
You're right. So child pornography threats and Russian missile supplier threats all in one story. That would terrify a lot of people, understandably.
Right.
So
that's the point here. When you hear child pornography, or as I prefer to call it, CSAM, because it's not as jarring as what it actually is. And when you hear that, immediately you're like, "What? No, I'm not involved." You become immediately defensible because this is one of the most reprehensible things that people get busted for.
Agreed.
Right? Nobody
Agreed.
wants to be associated with this at all. So even mentioning this is going to have a real impact on your thinking capability.
Yeah, you're going to want to clear that up right away. Whatever it takes. I'm dropping everything. I'm getting this cleared up right now because I don't want any of this near me, because no reasonable person ever would. So you're going to do whatever it takes to just get this to go away.
Right. And while you're still worried about
yeah.
that, they pile on with the Russian missile suppliers.
Right. Which we've talked about stories like this where when we read it back, it just sounds so funny to hear it in this context. But
in
with
the
the
real
urgency,
time, it doesn't feel that way.
I'm imagining like the scammers with one of those big wheels that you spin that goes click, 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 and what's it going to be? Russian missile suppliers. All right. Like.
Who's the next one? Tick, tick,
yeah.
tick, 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 tick. Iranian embargo avoidance.
Yeah. Just in the call center. They're like, spin the wheel. Yeah.
Oh my God. So then there's subterfuge that's always layered in with this, where, don't tell anyone about this because then you'll compromise this whole mission that we've got you on, because we need you to participate and cooperate. Otherwise, this all goes south and then you're implicated. So, of course, they're not talking about it to anybody who could help them. And then the additional subterfuge of, hey, there's going to be this handoff. It's going to be very spy movie. We're going to have you do, buy these gold bars, hand them to this FDIC person who's going to ask you for a password. The passcode is 2525. And as long as he knows it and you know it, then you know it's legit. And even though it's in an Old Navy parking lot, this is a completely legitimate transaction when you hand this money over to a total stranger. Anyway, so eventually, as we mentioned at the top, the police did get involved because they kindly told this couple, hey, you are getting massively scammed. The police actually worked with this couple and created a situation where the scammers would come back to do another pickup, basically, of the gold bars. And a young police detective posed as a 75-year-old woman, and I guess the person doing the pickup did not question this whatsoever and just sort of fell for it themselves. And when the scammer picked up the gold bars and went back to New York City where they were based, they were arrested. And the thing that I found interesting about this person, his name is Yong Xian Huang. He's 23 and speaks only Cantonese. And his attorney is saying, basically, because he speaks no English, how on earth could he be involved in a scam as complicated as this? He's just a patsy. And I questioned if even he knew what he was doing. Maybe he was just told, go to this place, show this number, and drive. He may not even know what he was doing.
Yeah, he's a mule.
Yeah, essentially, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he got hired for a courier job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had no idea. So thankfully, it sounds like this particular scam, the police are trying to investigate more who's at the center of it. We can probably take some wild guesses. But in Montgomery County alone, they've actually uncovered a number of these stories that we've talked about on the show. They said that gold bar scams have totaled $6.6 million in losses already that they've seen. And this is just in that one county. So this is a lot of money. And I went to the FDIC. What was that?
I have family that lives in that county.
I mean, if this is just one county, you've got to wonder how much money is flowing in gold bars in these scams all over the country. I mean, this is quite a lot of money. I went to the FDIC's website also because I was just curious what I know they know about all these scams. So they actually have something front and center on their website, just sort of reminding people what the FDIC does and does not do. And they make a point of saying, we will never send you unsolicited correspondence asking for money, and we will never threaten you. No government agency will ever demand that you pay by gift card, wiring money, or digital currency. I think they should probably add gold bars to that list. And the FDIC would never contact you asking for personal details such as bank account information, credit and debit card numbers, social security numbers, or a password. So I don't know. Gold bars just should be a red flag for anybody at this point. But this is just wild that these keep happening. There's so many around the country, and Montgomery County seems to be focusing on them a lot. But I'm sure there are other places where it's even worse.
At one point in time, Montgomery County was like in the top 5 wealthiest counties in the country.
Yeah.
It was a very wealthy county.
I'm sure that's why it's being that's why it's being targeted. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess also gold bars are comparatively easy to move around the world, right? Sort of universally valuable.
Yeah, and it's not only that, but I can take a gold bar and modify it so it doesn't have the same numbers on it. I can have the gold. I can do something to the gold bar that makes it not the same thing, right? Like you can't do this with like $100 bill. I can smelt it, right?
Just take it to your forge friends,
right?
Maybe throw in a little iron.
Yeah, I've seen people that have these gold forges in their house. They're like small ovens that just get really, really hot with a graphite crucible inside of it. So you can do this and then pour the gold directly into some other mold and make another ingot that doesn't have any tracking information on it, and then move that wherever you want. I mean, it's pretty easy to do this. I mean, it doesn't require a lot of skill to move this stuff around. It's almost like cryptocurrency, except it's less trackable. It's
very primitive, and I don't mean that disparagingly. It's just we're talking about smelting and crucibles.
It's very low level, right?
I mean, it's kind of impressive that we've all gone full circle on this.
Right.
Joe, you and I are around the same age. Do you recall in science class when you were coming up, sort of casually playing with mercury?
No.
We did.
I was not allowed to do that. No, we heard the stories though.
Was that in elementary school? You heard that?
No, this was in high school.
No, in high school we were told that in high school they actually gave us radioactive material.
Yeah, it explains a lot about both of us.
Right.
But and so,
I'm not joking. They brought in little. I remember what they looked like. They were little tiny discs with radiation in them.
Right. Well,
radioactive stuff in them.
Did you lick it or?
No.
I mean,
you weren't even allowed to eat anything while you were in the class.
We had a hot tub full of mercury, and actually we had so here's the thing. You get a little container of mercury, okay? A little.
Don't do this.
No, don't do. Ladies and gentlemen, mercury is a neurotoxin. In case you
it's
are
very
not
bad.
aware. These days, if you spill mercury, the fire department comes and
it's a hazmat situation.
Right, but it used to be. Mercury. Just
Mop it up.
Get a paper towel.
Paper towel.
Clean that up. And toss
It's
it
like
away.
a liquid slinky. You can just pass it between. Yeah.
Exactly. And let me just tell you, it is very fun to play with. So one of the fun things that we did in science class is you could float quarters on it, right? 'Cause it's so dense that you can float heavy things on the mercury. So that's the kind of thing we would do.
You put that quarter right back in your pocket.
Yeah. Or your mouth. Let me just lick this clean. There we go. Wow.
It's amazing you both are still alive.
Yeah,
I know. We are both much, much smarter.
I'm going to tell you another horror story.
So, but here's how I'm going to bring this home. One of the kids in the school, one of the girls, floated a gold ring in the mercury.
Yes.
And it turns out mercury and gold are highly reactive. Well, highly reactive is overstating it. They are reactive. It doesn't, like the gold didn't disappear, but the gold changed. The gold absorbed the mercury, reacted with the mercury, and it makes the gold very brittle, where gold is typically fairly strong.
Right, and soft.
So she gets a little tweezers and gets the gold ring out of there, and it's a different color and has a different patina to it, and it crumbles in her hand. And she's like, uh-oh.
Why did she have that bright idea in the first place?
Well, I mean,
I bet it was curiosity. I know gold's pretty dense. Will my gold ring float on top of it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, how many of those kinds of active chemical reactions do you see in a given day? Not very many.
I didn't know that gold was reactive with mercury for some reason.
Yeah. So it turns out there is a way to remove the mercury from the gold and get the gold back, but it ain't going to be in ring form anymore when you get it back. So anyway, that's my story. Joe, what's your story of dangerous chemicals?
I got a chemistry set when I was a kid.
Of course you did.
You know what was in that chemistry set?
Oh, I don't know. Arsenic, cyanide,
ferrocyanide, Dave. It was ferrocyanide.
Cyanide.
I opened that up. It had a little key on the side of it. My dad's looking through it with me. He goes, "Oh, this will kill you." It's cyanide. It'll kill you very quickly.
You guys got to have all the fun.
I was like terrified of this thing. I was like, it's like, the old adage, you're not afraid that you're going to fall off the building. You're afraid you're going to jump, I know I don't want to use that stuff, but
yeah.
What if one day I get really stupid? I don't even want it around. I don't know what happened to the chemistry set, but I just got thrown into the trash at one point in time.
It's in a landfill somewhere.
Yeah. Ferrocyanide leaching out into the land.
Yeah, just seeping into the
I'm sure there's no
groundwater.
problem with that.
I hope not.
That's great.
I don't know if ferrocyanide and cyanide are the same thing. It was very, very dark blue. I do remember that.
Uh-huh. What did it taste like?
I'm jealous.
I don't know.
All my generation got was microplastics.
Right. All right. Well, you know what? This is a great time for us to take a break. We're going to take a break to hear from a message from our sponsor. We'll be right back after this. So let's return to our sponsor, ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker is a zero-trust endpoint protection platform that strengthens your infrastructure from the ground up. Where traditional cybersecurity tools require you to create a list of things you don't want to run, ThreatLocker enables you to easily curate an allow list of everything you need in your environment and network, and block everything else by default. With ThreatLocker allow listing and ring fencing, you gain a more secure approach to blocking exploits of known and unknown vulnerabilities. ThreatLocker provides zero-trust control at the kernel level that enables you to allow everything you need and block everything else, including ransomware. The ThreatLocker Zero Trust Endpoint Protection Platform deploys in a learning mode that analyzes the operations of your company using machine learning to assist you in developing your allow list for approved applications, what they can do on the endpoint, what can interact with your data, and even east and west network traffic. We thank ThreatLocker for sponsoring our show. Okay, my story this week comes from our friends at the FBI. And this is a public service announcement that they put out about a week ago. This is from the IC3, the Internet Crime Complaint Center, right? And this is a warning about how criminals are using generative AI for financial fraud. And so the FBI goes through a number of different things that they're seeing. Obviously, AI-generated text, that's probably the most obvious one. And Joe, you and I have talked about this, and Maria as well, where the dead giveaways that used to be there in lots of phishing emails are gone now.
Gone, yeah.
Yeah, because AI can just make it sound perfect.
Grammatically perfect.
That's right. That's right. And it also allows the scammers to operate at a higher velocity. They can send more stuff because the AI engines can just generate multiple versions.
And it can be automated.
Right. You can say to the AI, generate 50 versions of an email that does this, and it'll do it, which makes them harder to catch in spam filters.
Yep.
They also talk about AI-generated images. These are for things like social media profiles, for fake ID documents. I never really thought about this. Someone could have the AI generate probably a pretty convincing looking like government employee ID, right? Photos, they use them to make images of celebrities, folks who are famous on social media. I mean, all those kinds of things the AIs can do. Of course, we already talked about voice cloning in Joe's story. So that's available. And even just recently now, the video tools have become much more widely available than they were before. And so people can, again, make depictions of public figures, but, even people you might know. You can take a photo and turn it into a moving image now and make it look like, somebody you know. So the FBI has some tips here to protect yourself. And number one on the list is create a secret word or phrase with your family to verify their identity. As we talked about earlier in the show. Such a good idea.
And don't say it on a podcast.
And don't share it with your idiot podcast co-host.
That's right. Once more, Maria, what's yours with you and your mom?
And I'm still not telling you, and that is not the phrase.
Right. Getting back to the FBI here, they say you look for imperfections in images and videos, particularly hands and feet. There's teeth, eyes, ears. There's just little things that don't seem quite right.
Those will all go away
Stuff in the
time.
background.
Yeah.
All those tells will disappear.
Yep. They say verify the identity of the person calling you by hanging up, researching the contact of the bank or organization, and call the phone number directly. And of course, they say never share sensitive information with people you've met only online or over the phone. Don't send money, gift cards, cryptocurrency, or other assets. And we're going to add gold to people you do not know.
And maybe also mercury or iron. I don't know.
Right.
Hadn't thought about. Yeah, I wonder what mercury goes for these days. I don't know. Probably is as expensive to handle the transport of it is. It's very heavy also. But tasty. And they say, if you believe you've been a victim of financial fraud, please file a report with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. That is at ic3.gov, and give them as much information as possible. I know from experience and talking to the folks in the FBI that I've had the opportunity to interview that you probably should not expect a rapid reply from the FBI when you put something into this system, simply because they are so overwhelmed.
There's a lot that goes into that system.
Yeah, and they just don't have the resources to directly respond all the time. But know that it does get logged, and it does help them go after the things that they do. They do use the information. They do work on it. So if you submit something, it is helpful, even if it might not be completely satisfying with the response that you get. So we will have a link to that in our show notes. It's actually direct, I guess you call it a press release from the FBI. And there's quite a lot of good information in there. And it's one of those things, pretty concise. It also is authoritative. So it's a nice thing to send around to your friends and family to say, look, here's what the FBI says. And maybe you'll help prevent them from getting scammed. All right, let's move on to our catch of the day.
Dave, our catch of the day comes from someone who just goes by A.
They didn't Fonzie?
Yeah, A. They didn't provide us with their actual name, so okay. But they say they thought this was a funny one, and I'll do a little spoiler, Dave. It looks very much like an advanced fee scam, but it's got a lot of moving parts.
Okay, it goes like this. Attention. We sincerely apologize for sending you this sensitive information via email instead of certified mail, post mail, phone, or face-to-face conversation. It's due to the urgency and importance of the security information of our citizens. I am Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Chad B. Yarbo from the Federal Bureau of Investigation Field Intelligence Groups. We intercepted 2 consignment boxes at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, Texas. The boxes were scanned, but found out that it contained large sum of money and also some backup documents, which bears your name as the beneficiary receiver of the money. Investigation carried out on the diplomat that accompanied the boxes into the United States said that he was to deliver the fund to your residence as overdue payment owed to you. Meanwhile, we cross-check all legal documents in the boxes, but we found out that your consignment was lacking an important document, and we cannot release the boxes to the diplomat until the document is found. Right now, we have no other choice than to confiscate your consignment. According to Internal Revenue Code, in Title 26 also contain reporting requirement on Form 8300, report of cash payment over $10,000 received in a trade of business money laundering activity may violate 18 U.S.C. 1956, 18 U.S.C. 1957, 18 U.S.C. 1960, and provision of Title 31 and 26 U.S.C. 60501 of the United States Code. This section will discuss only those money laundering and currency violation under the jurisdiction of the IRS. Your consignment lacks proof of ownership. Your consignment lacks proof of ownership certificate from the joint team of IRS and IRC. Therefore, you need to reply back immediately for direction on how to procure this certificate to enable us relieved the charge of evading the law on you, which is punishable offense in the United States. You are required to reply within 72 hours. At that point, I will walk you through the process of clearing and claiming the money. Failure to comply may lead to your arrest, interrogation, and or you being prosecuted in a court of law for tax evasion and or money laundering. We will also dunk you in mercury. No, I made that part up. You are also instructed to desist from further contact with any banks or persons in the United States, the United Kingdom, or any part of the world regarding your fund, because your payment has been confiscated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation here in the United States. Yours in service, Agent Chad B. Yarbo, Assistant Special Agent in Charge, FBI, Dallas Area Division.
Pretty good. So
pretty good.
It's basically a trunk box scam.
Right, that's what I was going to say, yeah.
And if you start talking to them, they're just going to say you need to pay this fee and this fee and this fee and this fee.
You know, trunk box scams go back to like pirates.
Yeah.
it's
very old
hundreds
scam.
Of years old. Yeah.
And they still work.
So
amazing.
Yeah.
There's basically no punctuation in this either.
Right.
Like
no.
And here's my thinking. Why is it like this? Is why do they not use the generative AI to produce this? Is that because they are still just writing these themselves in the hopes of getting someone who will skip over all the things? Because we've heard that in the past that part of the reason these things work is because of their bad grammar.
Right.
That somebody who is going to overlook the grammar is the same kind of person that will fall for these scams. So it's like self-selection. So maybe that's of value to the scammers.
Yeah, the only other thing I can think of is that it might somehow make it more likely that it'll get through some kind of spam filter by having odd run-on sentences.
It could be.
I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, what about the huge long codes of provisions and titles? Does that actually scare? I mean, does anyone believe that? I mean, USC 1957. I'm intimately familiar with that one.
Right.
I definitely know what this is referring to.
That part strikes me as being copy-pasted off of like the IRS website or something, like just to throw some legalese in there.
Yeah.
Make it seem more official.
I didn't take the time to look at these codes. Maybe I should have,
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should. Maybe the listeners can go look them up. But no, it's just there to make it seem legit. These are probably real codes. These are probably real sections of the U.S. code.
Oh, you know what? Chad Yarbo is actually an FBI person. Yeah, I'm looking up here on September 23rd of 2024. He was named Assistant Director of the Criminal Investigative Division. Yeah.
So they've done the research on this one.
So if you Google any of this, it'll come up as very plausible, and you go, oh, this must be real.
Yeah, so he's actually at headquarters in D.C., but he did recently serve in the Dallas field office. So
really?
There you go.
So they're actually impersonating a real FBI agent.
Right.
I wonder if that's legal.
Maybe this email's real. Maybe this is actually happening. Oh my gosh.
It's not at all legal.
Wouldn't it be funny if that was the thing that they got busted for?
Yeah,
impersonating an FBI.
Yeah, maybe Chad Yarborough will hear this podcast and go, hey, somebody's impersonating me and using my name as a trunk box scam and advance fee scam.
Mm-hmm. That's the last straw.
Yeah. Let's go find out who this is.
Right. Since I got my promotion,
right.
I have resources. Now that I'm at headquarters, there's no more messing around with the Chadster.
I hope Chad listens to this podcast
I
and
would
wants
love
to come on the
did.
show. I would love that so much.
Yeah.
Chad, please reach out if you listen.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Chad, thank you for your service to our country. Please don't come at us.
Thanks, Chadster.
Yeah. All right. As always, we would love to hear from you. If there's something you'd like us to consider for our catch of the day, you can send it to us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. And of course, we want to thank this week's sponsor, ThreatLocker. Go to threatlocker.com/HH and check out their Zero Trust Endpoint Protection Platform. That's the words threat and locker with no space.com/HH, where you can request a demo and neutralize the threat of malware running on your devices. That is Hacking Humans, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to hackinghumans@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode is produced by Liz Stokes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Our executive editor is Brandon Karp. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. I'm Dave Bittner.
I'm Joe Kerrigan.
And I'm Maria Varmazes.
Thanks for listening.